My beloved child, pause for a little while and stay here with me. Take a slow breath, let your racing thoughts begin to settle, and allow your heart to become quiet in my presence. What you chose to do when no one else was paying attention reached my heart in ways words can barely express. It happened without applause or recognition, yet it carried a depth that mattered greatly to me. Today my heart is filled with joy because of you, a joy that rises from my love, your faithfulness, and the delight I take in you. You may not yet understand why this moment carries such significance, but I want you to know this with certainty. I have seen you, and my joy over you is genuine. My precious one, I watched your obedience when it required you to surrender what felt comfortable and familiar. I saw the quiet moments when following me made little sense to your own understanding and brought no immediate reward that anyone could recognize. I saw the decision you made when no one encouraged you, when no one thanked you, and when the room remained silent after your sacrifice. Perhaps the earth had nothing to say, but heaven did. What others overlooked was fully known before me, and your faithful response carried farther than you could ever imagine. My heart is far more than simply pleased. I am deeply, sincerely, and joyfully proud of you. You chose me when it would have been easier to choose comfort instead. You listened for my voice when convenience offered an easier path, and you trusted me while others delayed, protected themselves, or followed what seemed safer. You did not obey because it felt easy. You obeyed because you believed my heart could be trusted. That trust is more valuable than you realize. It is precious, uncommon, and powerful. There were moments when you could have quietly walked away, and no one would have questioned your decision. You could have justified your hesitation, chosen compromise, and continued without anyone noticing what had changed. Yet you remained, you listened, you obeyed, even when your heart felt weary, even when your understanding was incomplete, and even when fear whispered that waiting would be safer. You still chose me, and I want those words to settle deeply within you. Every step mattered to me. Perhaps you wondered whether obedience without recognition was worth the cost. Maybe you questioned whether anyone truly understood what you laid down, or why your heart carried such quiet grief afterward. I understood. I was there. I watched with love instead of judgment, with delight instead of distance. I saw the moment you looked around, hoping someone might understand what that decision cost you. No one spoke. The room stayed quiet, but I never looked away. When you chose obedience, you brought your heart into alignment with mine, and alignment always sets something in motion. Stay with me for a moment longer, because I want you to understand what has taken place. What happened through your obedience was not delayed. For another day it began now. In places your eyes cannot yet see, something has already shifted. What had seemed unmoving has begun to move. What held you back has started to loosen. Paths that appeared closed have begun to open in ways you cannot yet fully recognize. Your simple act of trusting me reached further than you know. Even if everything around you appears unchanged, do not mistake quietness for inactivity. My work often begins where human eyes see very little, and my blessings frequently take root long before they become visible. Think about a seed beneath the soil. It makes no announcement when it is planted, yet life is already unfolding where no one can see it. In the same way, what has begun through your obedience is taking shape, growing quietly, and preparing itself for the right moment. What I have prepared for you may arrive differently than you expected, yet it will reveal my goodness in ways that reshape how you see me, how you understand yourself, and how you remember this season of your journey. You believed obedience would only require sacrifice, but you could not yet see that it also opens doors you could never reach by your own strength. Stay here with me. Do not hurry past these words or treat them as a passing encouragement. This is confirmation. This moment carries weight, and I want your heart fully awake to what I am doing. My work is secure, yet your willingness to recognize it matters. Do not allow the lie that this is merely emotion to take root within you. What I am speaking to you is true. You never obeyed in order to earn my love, because my love has already been yours. You responded freely and sincerely without bargaining, and that willing heart matters deeply in my kingdom. It reveals that you trust my heart, even when my hand is not yet visible. You may still think about your weaknesses, your past failures, or the places where you feel unworthy, but listen carefully to what I am saying. I am proud of you not because you have reached perfection, but because you were willing to answer me. I am proud of you because you listened, because you responded, and because you kept moving forward. Growth begins with a willing heart long before it reaches completion. Do not look back with fear or second thoughts. Obedience places you where I am leading, even when the road ahead is unfamiliar. I am leading you forward, and what you released into my hands will be met by my care. What you surrendered to me will be restored in a better way, and what you entrusted to me will return according to my purpose. You are entering a season where you will begin to recognize my faithfulness through moments that feel deeply personal. Sometimes you will see my hand in remarkable ways, and other times you will notice it in the quiet details that gently remind you I am near. Remain attentive. Keep your heart humble and grateful, because gratitude will help you recognize my presence with greater clarity. Do not measure your journey against anyone else's. What I am doing in your life is personal, and the way I bless you reflects the path of trust you have walked with me. Quiet obedience often produces lasting fruit that grows beneath the surface before anyone sees it. I am not concerned with impressing people through your life. My desire is to transform you, strengthen you, and establish you in the work I have already begun. There will be days ahead when doubt quietly returns and asks you the same questions again. There will be moments when the waiting feels heavier than you expected, and the silence seems difficult to understand. When those moments come, remember this conversation. Remember that I spoke to you with joy, with deep affection, and with a heart that delights in you. Never forget that I do not overlook obedience. I honor it, I continue building upon it, and I reward it in ways greater than you can presently imagine. You were never walking this path by yourself. When your strength began to fade, I strengthened you. When your resolve trembled, I held you steady. When saying yes felt costly, I gave you the courage to take that step, and I will continue giving you the grace you need for everything that follows. You are not entering what comes next without me beside you. I am already ahead of you, I remain close beside you, and I continue watching over every concern you carry. Let your heart begin to rest. Let the tension you have been holding slowly loosen its grip. You no longer need to exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth before me. Simply stay close to me, speak openly with me, listen for my voice, and continue trusting my heart. I am pleased with you. I truly am proud of you, and I am actively working on your behalf because of the decision you made. Stay here with me a little longer, because something beautiful has already begun. My beloved child, draw nearer and allow your heart to rest for a moment. Let the noise around you fade into the background, and let the weight you have been carrying begin to lift as I speak gently to the deepest places within you. Today my heart overflows with joy because of you. It is not a passing feeling or a distant affection. It is a living joy that continues to flow like an endless river. The joy I have for you today is personal. It does not depend on what you may accomplish tomorrow or who you might become someday. It rests in who you already are before me, in what you have already entrusted to me, and in the love that binds us together. I do not look upon you with reserved approval. I delight in you with all my heart. When I look at you, failure is not the first thing I see. Weakness is not what captures my attention. I see faith. I see a heart that chose to listen when turning away would have been easier. I see someone who trusted me even when certainty had not yet arrived, and that willing response has touched my heart far more deeply than you realize. Heaven was not silent when you obeyed. Your faithfulness was fully seen, and your surrender reached beyond what your natural eyes could ever witness. Even if you do not feel noticed today, even if you feel ordinary or overlooked, my joy does not depend on your feelings. It flows from my heart because I know exactly what your obedience cost you. I know the quiet battles you have fought within yourself. I know the questions you carried, the fears that whispered for you to stop, and the uncertainty that surrounded your next step. I know there were moments when you wondered whether you had heard me correctly. Yet you still trusted me. You still said yes, even with a heart that carried questions alongside its willingness. That kind of obedience is deeply precious to me. My joy over you is not distant or general. It rests personally upon you like a gentle covering. I am speaking to you here in this very moment, exactly where you are. I know your name. I know your story. I know the long road that has brought you here, and I want you to hear this clearly. I am pleased with you. There are moments when heaven responds in a unique way to human obedience. This is one of those moments. When you chose to trust me, something came into alignment. Something that had quietly been waiting was set into motion because your surrender was freely given. Love responds in a powerful way to a willing heart. If you would like to help continue sharing messages like this, you can support the work through the QR code or the support link provided in the description. Your support helps make it possible to continue encouraging others and strengthening their devotion to God. I want this truth to take deep root within you because it will sustain you in the days ahead. My child is not fraudulent, and it does not disappear when circumstances become difficult. It is not withdrawn because you stumble. Yet there is a unique delight that fills my heart when you choose to trust me. When you obey me, you are responding to far more than a command. You are responding to a relationship, and that response opens your heart to deeper closeness, shared joy, and greater intimacy with me. Perhaps you wondered whether your obedience mattered because it seemed so small. Perhaps you compared yourself to those whose sacrifices appear greater, or whose lives seemed far more visible. That is not how I measure faithfulness. I look beyond appearances and into the heart. I see what your obedience truly cost you. I saw what you released, the comfort you surrendered, the pride you laid down, and the control you willingly placed into my hands. With tenderness and truth, I tell you again that my joy over you today is full. Heaven is fully aware of your faithfulness. Acts of obedience that flow from love are never unnoticed. You did not respond in vain. You did not choose the wrong path, and you did not misunderstand my voice. If peace is beginning to settle within your heart as you listen, receive it. It is a quiet confirmation of my pleasure resting upon you. I know how long you have measured your value by your effort, your results, or the approval of others. Today I invite you to rest instead in my joy over you. You do not need to earn it or chase after it. Simply receive it. Let it wash over the places where you have been hardest on yourself, and let it quiet the voice that keeps telling you that you have never done enough. My delight in you is enough. Do not rush away from this moment or treat these words as ordinary encouragement. They are truth. They are a foundation you can stand upon. When doubt returns, remember this conversation. When waiting feels long and silence becomes difficult again, remember that my delight in you is already present. You are never seeking the attention of people through your obedience, and perhaps people never noticed what you carried. But I did. My seeing has never been passive. I am actively involved. I am shaping your future, preparing what lies ahead, and working through the faithful steps you have already taken. My joy over you is more than an emotion. It is a declaration that you are walking with me, that you are trusted, and that I remain near. I have not stepped away from you during this season. I am attentive to your life, invested in your journey, and present in every step you continue to take. Let these words settle deeply within your spirit. I rejoice over you today because of your faithfulness, not because you have become flawless. I delight in you because you continue listening and responding when I call. Stay here with me a little longer. Let your heart become still. Let my joy strengthen you. And remember who you are when you see yourself through my eyes, because what lies ahead will call for trust, patience, and quiet confidence. Today I am reminding you of this with complete clarity and with all the tenderness of my heart. You are fully seen by me. You are deeply valued and you are dearly loved. The joy I have over you today is not the conclusion of your story. It is only the beginning of what is already unfolding. My beloved child, there is something I want you to understand, because many never truly do. What you chose was neither ordinary nor easy. It was a path that few are willing to walk. Once obedience begins asking for sacrifice instead of comfort, loneliness instead of approval, and trust instead of certainty. Many begin with sincere hearts, but when the cost becomes greater than they expected, their pace slows, their courage weakens, and they quietly choose what feels safer. You chose differently. You remained when it would have been easier to leave, and that is why your obedience carries such significance before me. Throughout generations I have watched countless hearts. I have seen enthusiasm disappear when following me stopped being convenient, and I have watched passion fade when the road became uncertain. Many gladly follow while the way is bright, while others encourage them, and while obedience is celebrated. Yet when the journey grows confusing, when waiting stretches longer than expected, and when obedience begins costing relationships, reputation, comfort, or certainty, many quietly step away. They tell themselves they will come back later. They convince themselves that delay is wisdom, when in truth they have simply become afraid of the cost. But you stayed where many walked away. You remained when the answers were incomplete, and when your emotions felt heavy. You remained when trusting me meant releasing what once felt familiar. You remained when choosing the easier path would have required no explanation to anyone around you. That is what makes your obedience so precious. That is why it carries such value before me. Do you know how uncommon it is for someone to continue when obedience becomes lonely, when no one understands the decision, when encouragement disappears, and when questions replace applause? Many begin wondering if they heard my voice correctly. Fear grows louder. Doubt begins whispering. They worry about making the wrong choice, and slowly they retreat. But you did not step back. You came closer. You chose to trust me even when the sacrifice was personal and the reward remained unseen. I want these words to settle deeply within your heart. Heaven notices faithfulness that continues in silence. Heaven treasures obedience that does not depend upon recognition. Obedience that grows from trust instead of emotion is precious to me. Through your response, you revealed more than your actions. You revealed the posture of your heart, showing that my voice meant more to you than comfort. My will meant more than convenience, and my truth mattered more than immediate reassurance. Perhaps you felt alone in that decision. Perhaps others misunderstood your devotion or questioned why you continued when they chose another path. Some may have believed you were sacrificing too much. Others may have wondered why you refused the easier road. Yet obedience often brings separation before it produces lasting fruit, and faithfulness often feels lonely before it becomes firmly established. What you experienced was never abandonment. It was a season of refinement. Many stop when obedience feels heavy. Many turn away when surrender exposes weakness or requires them to wait longer than they expected. Many struggle to release what they still hope to hold on to. But you remained faithful, not because fear never visited you, but because your heart was anchored in me. You leaned on my voice instead of your emotions. That is maturity. That is trust. That is why heaven takes notice. Obedience is uncommon because it asks for humility. It requires surrendering control and trusting me even while the outcome remains hidden. Many people want certainty before they obey. They want guarantees before they surrender. True obedience takes the step first and understands more clearly afterward. You took that step. Because you responded, something was opened that could not have been reached any other way. I saw the nights when questions filled your mind, and I saw the moments when doubt quietly tried to convince you to give up. I saw the struggle between remaining faithful and choosing temporary relief. I never looked at those moments with disappointment. I looked upon them with compassion, and when you chose to remain faithful despite the weight you carried, my heart was deeply moved, because obedience that costs something carries great value in heaven. If this is the cry of your own heart, type, "I believe you, Lord, even when my eyes cannot yet see," as your declaration of faith. Never underestimate the value of your obedience. Heaven is not captivated by noise or outward attention. Heaven delights in steady faithfulness. It is not those who begin with excitement and quietly disappear who are honored, but those who continue walking when the path becomes narrow. Your obedience placed you among those who remained when stopping would have been easier. I want you to remember this so that when the enemy tries to diminish what you have done, you will refuse to believe that lie. When your own thoughts tell you your obedience was insignificant, remember that heaven saw it differently. When comparison tries to steal your peace, remember that obedience is never measured by visibility, but by faithfulness. You trusted me when trust required courage. You obeyed me when obedience demanded sacrifice. You remained when leaving would have felt easier. And through that decision, your heart came into deeper alignment with mine. There will be seasons ahead when you will clearly recognize the fruit that has grown from your obedience. There will also be seasons when that growth remains hidden. quietly taking shape beneath the surface where your eyes cannot yet see it. Do not lose heart in either season. Faithfulness always produces fruit, even when the harvest takes longer than you hoped. Nothing you have planted through sincere obedience will ever be wasted in my hands. I am telling you this because I want to strengthen your heart before those days arrive. Hold tightly to this truth and carry it with you wherever the journey leads. When new challenges come, remember that you have already remained faithful once before. When another decision calls for courage, remember that the same grace that carried you then will meet you again. You are walking a path that is marked by trust, surrender, and obedience. At times it may feel lonely, but it is never unseen. I walk beside you, I guide your steps, I protect you, and I honor every act of faithfulness you offer me. Stay close to me. Keep listening for my voice. What you chose mattered then, it matters now, and it will continue shaping what lies ahead. My beloved child, come a little closer, and let me speak to the place within you that has quietly wondered whether anyone truly noticed what you carried. I know there were moments when you chose what was right, and the room remained silent. I know there were times when your obedience received no applause, no gratitude, and no acknowledgement for the sacrifice it required. Hear me carefully now. When no one applauded, my eyes never left you. When no one affirmed you, I was near. When others remained silent, heaven was paying close attention. The world often teaches you to measure your worth by recognition, praise, and visible success. But my kingdom does not measure value that way. The deepest acts of obedience are often the quiet ones, offered behind closed doors when no one is watching and no one is expected to notice. Those hidden moments matter to me more than you realize. I saw you choose integrity when compromise would have passed unnoticed. I saw you choose kindness when bitterness seemed justified. I saw you remain faithful when walking away would have been easier and more acceptable in the eyes of others. I saw you continue obeying me even when silence followed instead of praise. Perhaps there were moments when you wondered if your obedience had disappeared into the silence. Perhaps you questioned whether any of it truly mattered. I know what it feels like to keep giving while receiving nothing in return, to continue pouring yourself out while no one seems to recognize what it costs. I understand that quiet ache, and I am not distant from it. I know what it is to love without applause, to give without recognition, and to obey while being misunderstood. That is why I draw near to you now with compassion and truth. Never let the absence of human recognition convince you that your faithfulness was insignificant. Silence from people has never meant silence from me. In many ways, the quietest obedience reveals the purest trust, because hidden places refine the heart in ways public moments never can. You did not obey because you wanted to be noticed. You obeyed because you trusted me. That trust is deeply precious to my heart. I want you to understand this so that disappointment never grows into bitterness. People can only celebrate what they see, and often they overlook what matters most. But I see what is hidden. I see the quiet decisions no one else knows about. I saw the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed. I saw the strength it took to remain faithful when you felt completely alone. Nothing you have ever done for me has escaped my attention. There is a reward that comes from people, and there is a reward that comes from me. Human praise rises quickly and fades just as quickly. What I give settles deeply into your life, bringing lasting fruit, peace, and growth that cannot be taken away. When you remained faithful without applause, I was teaching your heart to treasure my approval above every other voice. I was guarding you from becoming dependent on constant affirmation. I was strengthening you so you could remain steady even when others misunderstood you. I was teaching you to recognize my voice above every competing voice around you. What looked like neglect was, in truth, preparation. I know it hurt. I know there were moments when you hoped someone would simply notice, say thank you, or acknowledge the sacrifice you made. The desire to be seen is not something I condemn. It is part of being human. I simply want to heal that longing by reminding you of something greater. Being overlooked by people has never meant you were overlooked by me. Throughout those quiet moments, my eyes remained upon you with love, delight, and approval. The world encourages performance. I call you to faithfulness. The world rewards appearances. I honor obedient hearts. The world applauds visible results. I treasure what is formed within you. Every quiet act of obedience brought your heart into deeper harmony with my kingdom, and that kind of alignment carries lasting strength even when it feels lonely. There were opportunities to explain yourself, defend your choices, or seek recognition for everything you had sacrificed. Yet you chose humility instead. You entrusted your obedience to me rather than searching for validation from others, and that trust was never misplaced. There may come days when the silence feels heavy again. When that happens, remember this truth: I am never silent toward you. I remain attentive, intentional, and present. I do not overlook faithful hearts. I do not forget quiet sacrifices. Every act of obedience you have offered me stands as a testimony of your love and trust. When no one applauded, you were never alone. I was strengthening your heart. I was shaping your character. I was building within you something that applause could never produce. Human praise can inflate the heart, but quiet seasons refine it, and that refinement prepares you for what is still ahead. Do not allow resentment to settle where recognition was absent. Place that hurt into my hands. I will heal it. I will replace it with peace, and I will remind you again and again that my approval is enough. You do not need to be known by many when you are fully known by me. The day will come when others begin to see what has been growing from the seeds you planted in quiet obedience. There will be moments when the fruit that has been hidden beneath the surface becomes visible for others to witness. When that time arrives, remain humble. Remember the quiet seasons when no one noticed your faithfulness, and remember who carried you through those unseen days. Let gratitude stand guard over your heart, because I am teaching you to live from my presence rather than from the praise of people. This lesson will remain with you long after this season has passed. It will steady your heart whether recognition comes or fades away. It will anchor you in truth instead of the changing opinions of others, and it will free you from the burden of constantly striving for approval. Listen carefully and let this settle deep within you. My reward is never dependent on human recognition. It flows from love, faithfulness, and trust. You have walked faithfully. You have responded sincerely. Even now my eyes remain upon you and my heart delights in you. Stay close to me. Let my presence become the place where your heart finds assurance. Let my voice carry more weight than applause, and let my peace become the reward you treasure most. When no one recognized your obedience, I was watching. I have never stopped watching. Even now I am guiding you, preparing you, and leading you toward what comes next. My beloved child, I want you to understand why your obedience carried such significance, why it was never overlooked, and why heaven responded the way it did. You are living in a time when pressure surrounds people from every direction. Fear often speaks louder than faith, and compromise has become increasingly accepted. In a season like this, obedience is rarely celebrated. It is questioned, postponed, explained away, or reshaped until it feels more comfortable. Many hear my voice, yet far fewer continue following when obedience begins asking something of them. Many recognize my leading, but only a few remain willing when trust requires sacrifice. That is why your response mattered so deeply before heaven. It was not because heaven doubted what you were capable of, but because willing obedience has become increasingly uncommon in a season like this. I see the pressure that surrounds you. I see how fear tries to shape your decisions before faith has the opportunity to speak. I see how people are tempted to choose survival instead of surrender, comfort instead of courage, and approval instead of truth. I see how compromise can appear reasonable, how delay can disguise itself as patience, and how silence can seem easier than obedience. In that kind of atmosphere, faithful obedience becomes uncommon. It becomes costly. It often becomes lonely. Yet those very realities give it great value. When you chose to obey me, you stepped against the current that quietly pulls so many away. You refused to simply follow what surrounded you. You did not reshape what I asked of you to make it easier to carry. You chose truth when truth was difficult. You chose faith when fear offered countless reasons to hesitate. You chose surrender when holding on to control seemed safer. That decision reached farther than you could see. Heaven is not impressed by performance, but heaven is attentive to hearts that trust me. The angels are not moved by outward display. They take notice of obedience that rises from genuine faith. When you chose me instead of choosing comfort, heaven took notice, not because you were perfect, and not because you never felt afraid, but because you trusted me more than you trusted what felt easier. In a time when many hesitate, your response reflected a willing heart. Do not picture this as applause. Picture it as alignment. When you obeyed, something shifted. What had been waiting quietly began to move. Places that had remained closed because of hesitation began to open. Obstacles that had stood in the way began to lose their hold. Obedience does more than bring me joy. It brings your life into agreement with my will and creates room for my work where resistance once remained. You may not have felt strong when you said yes to me. Perhaps you felt tired, uncertain, or even afraid. Yet obedience has never depended upon feeling powerful. It begins with choosing trust, and trust allows you to walk where I am leading. When you aligned your heart with my will, that alignment carried quiet strength even before you could recognize it. The season you are living in carries many pressures. Compromise is often praised. Fear easily becomes accepted. Shortcuts appear attractive. Integrity is questioned, and faith is weakened by distraction. In a world like this, obedience shines all the more, because it has become increasingly rare. Your decision stood out, not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. I saw every voice surrounding you. I saw the opinions, the advice, and the expectations that pressed against your heart. I saw how reasonable the easier choices appeared. I saw the temptation to delay, to protect yourself, or to choose what demanded less from you emotionally. Yet you still chose me. That was the moment everything began to shift. That was the moment heaven responded, and that was the moment your faithful obedience carried a significance greater than you could see. If this message reflects the response of your own heart, comment Jesus as your declaration of faith. If you have surrendered to His calling with an open heart, share this video with someone who may need this encouragement today.